910-223-7591. The pastor is Phyllis Vernell Whitfield. Our service time is 9:45 Bible study, 11 a.m. service. Tuesday night Bible study begins at 6:45. And remember, come as you are. You don't have to clean up to get up, but come see us, and we'll be there for you. God bless you. Heaven smile upon you.
Hi, this is T.W. Campbell.
And I'm Patricia Campbell.
Of the Refuge Community Church, located at 2314 L.A. Dunham Road here in the God bless city of Fayetteville, North Carolina. You can reach us at area code 910-483-6477. We're here to invite you to our early morning service each Sunday morning beginning at 8:30 in the morning. Our prayer is at 6 o'clock, our intercessory prayer. Bible studies at 7 o'clock, which now is our Sunday school at night, and which we call the Word on Wednesday. Come and be a part of a growing community. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Welcome to Cape Fear Valley's Making Rounds Live, broadcasting and streaming live from the WIDU Community Room.
The WIDU Radio Network, WAGR in Lumberton, WYDU in Red Springs, WEWO in Laurinburg.
Making Rounds Live on 99.7 FM, 1600 AM.
We air every second and fourth Tuesday of the month.
Making Rounds Live.
The purpose of this show is to bring you information on health and wellness.
Here's the host of Making Rounds Live, Omega Jones.
And thank you so much, Ray Thomas. Welcome to another edition of Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live. I'm your host, Omega Jones. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about the milestones that have shaped Cape Fear Valley Health and over the past year, and the exciting news of the new beginnings that are ahead. Now, today we're going to share the highlights from the past year and discuss what the health system is going to do during the upcoming year. We're going to talk about the new medical school, you know we are, and the investments that have been made in local colleges in the Sand Hills region. We're also going to talk about workforce development and how Cape Fear Valley is going to enhance health care and how they're training future doctors for our community. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming today's guest, the CEO of Cape Fear Valley Health, Mr. Mike Nagowski. Mike, welcome back to Making Rounds Live.
Omega, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, Mike, before we get started and before we get into everything going on with Cape Fear Valley, let's start with you. This is a transient town. Some people may not know who Mike Nagowski is. So tell us a little bit about your professional journey and what led you to become the CEO of Cape Fear Valley Health. In other words, I know you're from Buffalo. Why Fayetteville, North Carolina, Mike?
Well, Omega, thank you. I wish I could tell you I had some calculated, methodical approach to all of this. But the truth is, I had an opportunity to fall in love with healthcare in my late 20s. I'm a IT, an information technology person by trade, and I got the opportunity to be the IT person for a hospital in my hometown of Buffalo, New York. And well, Omega, one thing led to another, and before you know it, I was running the hospital. Yeah, so I was the president of Buffalo General Hospital in Buffalo, New York. It's the flagship facility in all of Western New York. It's the academic site. It's where everything happens. But I always longed to not only be the president of a hospital, but to also be the chief officer of an entire health system. And I'll never forget when the recruiters first called about this opportunity in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I said, well, you know, I'm the president here at Buffalo General in my hometown. They said, well, Mike, there's a lot of important and good people down in Fayetteville that could use your help. And also, after you go talk to them during the week, you can go visit your in-laws in Charlotte on the weekend. And I said, well, how do you know I have in-laws in Charlotte? And they said, oh, Mike, we're paid to know these things. So one thing led to another, and I had a fantastic opportunity to meet folks from Fayetteville, from the region, And my wife and I decided to make the move. And Omega, it's been 18 years.
Wow, has it been 18 years?
18 years. We've raised our children here. My youngest daughter, Tori, who we adopted when she was 10 months old, knows no other town. She knows nowhere else. And I think my older two kids are a little jealous of that because they had to move around a little bit. Yeah. But it's just been fabulous. The community is so warm and welcoming. And I don't use the word warm just because we're in North Carolina and I'm from Buffalo. It's because we embrace, right? And that's kept us here, and we just love, and this is home.
Let's talk about 2025. What are you most proud of as CEO?
Oh, Omega, there's so many things. I think first and foremost, when I think about 2025, I think of all the teammates at the health system and what they've done. More people than ever choose Cape Fear Valley for care. And when I say that, whether it's an outpatient environment, the emergency department, the number of people choosing us for surgery, for their inpatient care, more people than ever. And I think that's simply because of all of the teammates who show up every single day, whether it's 16 degrees out or 100 degrees out, and they just deliver outstanding, nationally recognized health care. We've done a lot to grow healthcare in our region. In 2025, we opened up 100 additional beds here right in Fayetteville. And those were the most critical types of beds. Those are our ICU beds and what we call step-down beds, where the most critically ill patients are placed. And that's part of our mantra. We want you to receive world-class care locally. You shouldn't have to travel to get world-class care, and we're making that happen right here in Fayetteville. The expansion of our services, as I said, with the inpatient care, but also the number of physicians we're recruiting. And you opened the show, we received approval to start the medical school this coming year.
Okay, we're definitely going to get to the medical school. Let's talk about the challenges of healthcare in general. Healthcare in general faced a lot of challenges last year. We're talking workforce shortages. We're talking industry pressures. How did the health system keep moving forward despite all of that?
Well, I'm going to focus the conversation right back on our teammates. They're really on the front lines getting the work done. Day in and day out, they're the folks laying hands on patients, taking care of patients, helping them heal. But the challenges in our industry are probably like the challenges in every industry, right? Workforce is a major concern. As a nation, we are not growing, right? As a nation, we are not producing enough babies to simply replace ourselves. Omega, if I told you that the average number of babies born into a married couple was only 1.5, would you believe me?
Only one?
1.5 babies per couple in the United States. So as a nation, we're not producing enough people to replace ourselves. And that's a problem in all industries because almost everything in the way we deliver care is based on people taking care of people. I get the technology, right? And we've got every technology known to man, right? And we're proud of that. But at the end of the day, it's about a nurse and a doctor and a pharmacist coming together to take care of a patient. And that's our biggest challenge. And growing and incentivizing people to come into healthcare has been a major focus for the health system this past year.
Ladies and gentlemen, our in-studio guest, Mr. Mike Nagowski, the CEO of Cape Fear Valley Health. And if you're following us, if you're following the live stream on Facebook or YouTube, what I want you to do is make sure you share today's broadcast because we're discussing some vital information today, and I've tried to be that middle person. You're not going to remember everything. So make sure you share today's broadcast so they can see what Cape Fear Valley is doing for the Sand Hills region and for southeastern North Carolina. Now, our guest today, Mr. Mike Nagowski, as I said, the CEO of Cape Fear Valley Health. Mike, staffing continues to be a national issue.
Yes.
What has helped Cape Fear Valley recruit and retain the employees during last year?
Yeah. So, Omega, we have a number of initiatives in place. I have to give a lot of credit to Denver Hopkins, who's our Chief Human Resource Officer, and BA, who is our lead recruiter. She runs our recruitment team. We have an organization of 15 full-time recruiters that spend all day working to bring people into Cape Fear Valley. So we spend a lot of time and energy on this. And on the recruitment side, it's been multifactorial. First and foremost, it starts with where these future teammates are trained. Locally here in our region, we're very blessed. We've got outstanding schools, right? We've got Fayetteville State University. We've got Methodist University. Not many communities our size are blessed to have two major four-year universities in their region. But in addition to that, we've got nationally recognized community colleges. Our dear friends at Fayetteville Technical Community College, Dr. Mark Sorrells and Dr. Murtis Worth, are just fabulous partners. But it goes beyond just Cumberland County. We've got the relationship with Bladen Community College, and even up in the Sanford and Harnett areas with Central Carolina Community College, CCCC. That's always a mouthful for me. The relationships we have with those schools really drive our recruitment. You know, for many of our professions, a degree of some sort is necessary. Not all, but many. If you want to be a nurse, you need to go to school. You need to get that degree, whether it be a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree, or if you're going to pursue your master's degree or ultimately a PhD in nursing, you have to go to school. And so our relationships with our schools have been very vital. We've gone to them and asked them to grow their class size. Let me give you an example. We employ about 2,000 nurses, 2,000 nurses in the health system. And nationally, every year, 25% of those nurses either move on to other jobs, retire, change professions. So if we need 2,000 nurses to maintain our health care, every year I have to replace 500 nurses.
Wow.
Every single year. And so we rely heavily on our local schools to provide that workforce. And so them growing and expanding their programs are vital. But we take it one step further. In addition to having the classrooms available, we also do some other things that I think are pretty unique. We will fully scholarship a nurse who wants to go to become a nurse. We will fully scholarship their entire educational journey and we have these relationships at FTCC, at Bladen, and with Fayetteville State, where we will fully scholarship. So you have to put the time and effort into it, and becoming a nurse is not easy. But we want to make the financial end of that just a little bit easier for you. And we do that in other areas, like if you want to become a respiratory therapist, we will fully scholarship you. Now, we do have an expectation that after you receive your degree, you'll come work for us for a few years, but that relationship has really paid off in spades for us. It's allowed us to grow our pipeline.
Okay, so that is the reason why, jumping ahead of the discussion a little bit, that is the reason why Cape Fear Valley invested in Fayetteville State University, invested in Fayetteville Technical Community College, Bladen Community College. I didn't know about Central Carolina Community College. That's where I went to broadcasting school, but that's another topic. And so that's the reason why you are investing directly into these local schools.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the first reason is the relationship that we have with those schools, right? When you decide to invest in another organization, you have to have confidence. You have to have confidence in the leadership, and you have to have confidence in their ability to train the next generation of clinicians. And that's clear. Fayetteville State, Methodist University, Bladen, and Fayetteville Tech, we've invested those dollars in those schools, and we're proud, and we're seeing the return on those investments.
Mike, let's talk about something challenging or something that made you especially proud. Was there a moment last year that really stood out to you?
There was. There's many moments. One that's speaks to me is there is a nurse, and I don't know if she's still on the floor, but I do rounds on the floors, and that's some of my favorite times is in the morning when we go up to the nurses station and we just do a huddle and we get to hear about what's going on and we tell them about what's going on. I had a young nurse pull me aside and say, Mr. Mike, I love what I do and I love working at Cape Fear Valley, but I have 2 little ones and my daycare closed. And we're not from Fayetteville and I don't have anywhere to put my 2 little ones. So I think I'm either going to have to quit or I'm going to have to go part-time. And when I was able to tell her that, no, now wait a second, let's just hold on. We are getting ready to expand our internal daycare. Every single day, we have about 125 children of our workforce that we provide daycare services for. It's on the main campus, but 125 isn't enough. When you employ over 9,000 people, you have a lot of children in those families. And when I was able to tell her that, look, if you can just give us an opportunity, we're getting ready to open another 300 slots. So every single day we will care for more than 400 of our own children on our campus. I could just see all of the relief that was seeping into her body. Because think about it. I do know that she's a single mom. She is raising these 2 little ones on her own. And so to go from having a full-time job that's fully benefited to not having to do that is a difficult decision, but a decision that a mom has to make if she's got to take care of her little one. So to me, that will always stand out for me. And that's not one of those projects that makes the front page of the newspaper or doesn't make the headline in a radio station. But for us at the health system, it's so very important. Now, the other kinds of things, Omega, that you might expect me to say are pretty obvious, right? I remember where I was when we got the call from the licensing body for the medical school. And I'll never forget that moment when they said, you have the right to begin to recruit the next generation of physicians. I remember the press conference that we did in Harnett County when we broke ground on the behavioral health for adolescent unit. Those are those moments. The moment that Susan Dees, our chief nurse executive, who is from Fayetteville, born and raised, told me that, Mike, we've recruited enough nurses to begin opening up the Valley Pavilion expansion. All those moments stand out for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, our in-studio guest today, the CEO of Cape Fear Valley Health, Mr. Mike Nagowski. We're basically having a state of the health system address this morning. Now, Mike, you've talked about the medical school a couple of times, so let's bring in the medical school. That was one of the most exciting developments for not only Cape Fear Valley, but also the community. And why is this so important for not only Cape Fear Valley, but for the Fayetteville, Cumberland County, Sand Hills community?
Yeah. So, Omega, on that front, there's a lot of reasons for this community to be excited about it. We're a health system, so first and foremost for us, we know that we live in a bit of a doctor desert, right? There's a reason the emergency department at Cape Fear Valley is the single busiest emergency department in the state and one of the busiest in the nation. Think about it. Fayetteville is not Atlanta. We're not Chicago. We're not New York. And thank God we're none of those. But the population we have here should not lead to that busy of an emergency department. We think the data is pretty clear. The reason it does is if you have a medical condition and you can't get the kind of care you need, that medical condition doesn't disappear.
No, it doesn't.
It just doesn't go away on its own. And if you can't get care in a different setting, well, eventually it gets worse. And it gets to the point where you have no option. You have to show up at an emergency department. So instead of always working on the problem from the emergency department side of it, let's try and get in front of it. And there's only 180 medical schools in the nation. That's it. And every measure, every statistic shows that we have a shortage of physicians in the country. We've had this shortage for decades, and as the country continues to age and get older, certainly not you and I, but as the country gets a little bit older every year, our need for physicians only continues to grow. We see that at a national level, we see that at a state level, and we certainly see that in our own areas. So the medical school is going to help address that. And you might say, well, why? Well, it's because, again, it's all about the data. The data shows that wherever you train physicians, the majority of them stay. And that makes sense, right? Because the journey to become a physician takes a long time. And during that journey, you develop roots in a community. You might meet someone, you buy a house, you start to settle down. You work with the people who were your mentors, and you become part of the fabric of that community. 61% of people who do medical school and residency in a region stay in the region. And we're seeing that now. Almost 60% of everybody who has graduated from our residency programs, who are now ready to begin their medical careers, have stayed in the region.
Wow.
And we think that's only going to be amplified with the medical school. So to us, that's first and foremost. We need the medical school to solve the doctor desert problem we have in southeastern North Carolina. But there's a whole nother part of this that didn't really dawn on us until we started doing the research. The other part of this is the population's health improves. Every single medical school in the country, if you go to that region and you measure the health of that population before the medical school, and you measure the health of that population after the medical school, all measures of population health improve. Wow. And that's really important for us here because, you know, if you look at us statistically, the health of our population is not great. We have a lot of work to do. And I think that also points back to the doctor desert. And then one last piece, Omega, we think it's a huge economic boom for the region. When the medical school is fully operational, there will be 120 students in every year, and it's a 4-year school. So we will have almost 500 doctors learning to become a physician. Now let me ask you this. Who trains doctors to be doctors?
Doctors.
Exactly. Other doctors.
Yeah.
And so we've had to recruit. Right now, where we stand today, we have almost 90 additional faculty member who are poised and ready to welcome this first class this summer. And I think everybody knows, it's no secret, physicians and educators in medical schools are highly paid, highly compensated individuals. So for the community, from an economic impact perspective, we're going to have 500 students all learning to become physicians, and we'll have more than 100 people, new people in the community, high wage earners, adding to the economic vitality of our region. They'll be living in our community, shopping in our community, going to our restaurants, buying cars, homes, all of that. So for all of those reasons, solving the doctor desert, improving the health of our population, and adding to the economic vitality, we're super excited about the medical school.
Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today on Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live is the CEO of Cape Fear Valley Health, Mr. Mike Nagowski. When we return, Mike, I want to talk to you more about the doctor desert, and I want to talk to you about the rural communities as well.
Yeah.
So when we return, we'll continue our conversation with Mike Nagowski on Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live. Make sure you stay close.
We'll be right back with more of Making Rounds Live.
Cape Fear Valley's Making Rounds Live.
Broadcasting and streaming live from the WIDU Community Room on 99.7 FM, 1600 AM.
The WIDU Radio Network.
Hi, this is Lavette Jones, State Farm agent, providing insurance and financial services. You're listening to Wake Up.
The cleanup from the weekend winter storm is underway. Governor Josh Stein says a lot of people heeded the advice to stay home. He is glad of that. Duke Energy spokesman Jeff Brooks says that crews are wrapping up operation as there are still some power outages in the state of North Carolina, mostly in the mountains. Raleigh-Durham International Airport and other airports across the state There are delays, but traffic is picking up. In Minneapolis, legal questions are now being raised about whether carrying a weapon changes the standard in several situations. New research finds wildfire smoke is linked to an estimated 17,000 strokes in the elderly every year. 6 people died when a business jet crashed during takeoff as a snowstorm moved in. Visibility diminished in Maine. Mike Rayleigh, NCN News.
I'm Jamie Monticelli, WIDU Radio News. Cumberland County Schools operate on an asynchronous remote learning day today. All after-school activities are canceled, prime time is closed, and district offices and buildings are closed with staff working remotely. During the asynchronous remote learning day, students complete grade-level assignments prepared by their teachers. There will be no live video sessions or required login times. On January 25th at about 9:30 p.m., Fayetteville Police Department officers were sent out to the 5200 block of North Sumac Circle on reports of shots being fired. Officers arrived on scene and found an adult male and 2 adult females suffering from gunshot wounds. Another adult male was located on the scene suffering what appeared to be a stab wound. 1 adult male and 1 adult female, both suffering from gunshot wounds, were pronounced deceased at the scene. The second adult female suffering from a gunshot wound and the second adult male with possible stab wounds were taken to a local hospital. From WIDU Radio, I'm Jane.
This morning, starting out with cold weather advisories in place. It is bitterly cold, and any little gust of wind is really going to cut right through. So hope you're finding ways to stay warm out there. Heading into the afternoon, it's mostly sunny, high temperatures in the upper 30s and lower 40s. Overnight, clear to at times partly cloudy, temperatures dropping into the 20s. Then as we head into Wednesday afternoon, mostly sunny, highs 40 to 45. For the North Carolina News Network, I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the Weather Center.
Bless the Lord. I'm Dr. Ann T. Newell, pastor of the Soul Harvest Apostolic Church, the church not just there in the community, but there for the community of Spring Lake, North Carolina. We're looking for more than a few good men and women to join the team. Iron sharpeneth iron. We may have what you need. You may have what we need. Catch the vision. Join the team. Join Wake Up.
Angelic Flourish Creations, 442 Hillsborough Street, Fayetteville, is family owned and operated, proudly serving the Fayetteville area. Whatever the occasion, Angelic Flourish Creations can create a floral arrangement or gift for any occasion or holiday. Angelic Flourish Creations has prompt, friendly, and caring service. If you want to say you care, you can always say it with flowers from Angelic Flourish Creations, 442 Hillsborough Street, Fayetteville. Call 910-485-2205.
Get in shape, gain knowledge, eat better, clean out the garage. Well, all good resolutions, very ambitious and somewhat attainable. At PWC, we have a pretty simple approach to this year's resolutions. Keep doing what we do with excellence. Our community and our customers are the most important thing to us. Providing award-winning service is our goal every year. It's also nice to reflect, be recognized for our efforts, and celebrate recent achievements, like the Public Power Award of Excellence, Gold Award for Exceptional Utility Performance by the Association of Metropolitan Water Agencies, Partnership for Safe Water 25-Year Directors Award, just to name a few. Thank you for trusting your public power utility. We're committed to innovation, reliability, and you. Here's to another year of Fayetteville PWC, moving our community forward. Cheers!
Wake up, wake up. You've got the power. Wake up, wake up.
Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more backward thinking. Time for thinking ahead.
I'm Pastor Jerry D. Swinney from Bethel Christian Assembly at 1065 Progress Street here in the city of Fayetteville, North Carolina. And you're listening to Wake Up.
This is Sarah Alford, and I am the pastor of Joy Fellowship Outreach Ministry located at 18336 Highway 87 West, Tar Heel, North Carolina. And I am excited to be a part of Wake Up.
We
Now return to Making Rounds Live.
Cape Fear Valley's Making Rounds Live.
Broadcasting and streaming live on the WIDU network, 99.7 FM, 1600 AM. Here's Omega Jones.
And thank you so much, Ray. Welcome back to the second segment of Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live. Before we bring in today's guest and continue talking about the great things going on over at Cape Fear Valley Health, I do want to remind everybody about the Alzheimer's Caregiver Support Group. Don't forget that they meet the third Tuesday of each month from 2 until 3 p.m. at the Medical Arts Center, which is located over on Robinson Street. You know where it is, Suite 106. And they also have a second location for the Alzheimer's Caregiver Support Group, and they meet the first Wednesday of each month, and that's out in Hope Mills over on Rockfish Road. And if you want more information about either one of these, what you can do is call 910-615-1781, and they will give you all of the information. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today, CEO of Cape Fear Valley Health, Mr. Mike Nagowski. Mike, before we went into break, we were talking about the doctor desert. And when we talk about the doctor desert, I automatically think of areas like Robeson County, Lumberton, Pembroke, Renard, things like that. How will the medical school help address folks in the outlying areas?
Omega, you're absolutely right to ask about that. Think about it. In North Carolina, we are blessed with some of the nation's best medical schools, right? You know them. Some of them play basketball. I'm not going to get into who's better. But the issue with that is you would think with the schools that we have, right? Yeah, Duke, UNC, Wake Forest, ECU, Campbell's. Why aren't we overrun with physicians? And we think a lot of it is because doctors tend to stay in the models that they've been trained in, right? If you go up around Duke or UNC, there's no shortage of physicians there, right? They got them everywhere. You go out to where Wake Forest is, even in ECU, right? Our model with our medical school is to make sure that our students who are going through medical school get a chance to experience the rural areas. You know, if you've only ever grown up in a big city and then you train in a big city, well, the idea of getting in your car and going down the Bladen and taking care of folks down there is foreign. But if in your training, if in your first year, your second, your third, your fourth year, if in your residency you did a rotation there, those communities grow on you. You realize the need there is great. And the other thing I love telling doctors is, if you want to come to a big city and begin to work clinically, you're part of a big machine. You're going to play a narrow role in that big machine. But if you come out to the rural areas, you're it. You're going to do the complete continuum of care. You're not going to be just a sliver, a cog in the big machine. You're going to get to practice at your full level of clinical ability. And I can see the light bulb go off. Like, I'll give you an example. We're very proud of our medical staff, but one area that we're extraordinarily good at is in our emergency room physicians, right? We've got a very large training program, a residency program for our emergency room physicians. Our emergency room physicians rotate. They will do some of their clinical shifts in Bladen, in Harnett, and soon we'll be also doing that in Hoke County. So our physicians get a chance to work at the medical center, do all the heavy duty trauma, have patients come in off of the helicopter to take care of them, rush them to the cath lab, do all that work. And then they also have an opportunity to do clinical shifts 3 months at a time in Bladen at that much smaller community-based emergency department. But they see a different array of patients. Yet, when a patient in Bladen needs a higher level of care, they're connected. They know the system. Same thing up in Harnett County at Betsy Johnson or Central Harnett. Those doctors also work at the medical center. And so that model of our cardiologists, our emergency room physicians, allows those doctors to be more comfortable in a different setting. And so we're hoping that, after the medical school starts, it starts to graduate those doctors, they make it through the residencies, that they'll be more comfortable settling in some of our more rural areas. And even if they decide not to live there or to practice primarily there, they'll understand the nuances when they're caring for people from a rural community. When you care for people from a rural community and you take care of their immediate issue, you can't expect them to go back and have access to 7 other specialists. That doesn't happen, right? We're very self-sufficient. So whether you practice in that community or whether you're aware and sensitive to the issues in rural communities, we think it'll improve the overall population health.
Mike, we've talked about doctors. Let's talk about nursing.
Oh, yeah.
The investment that you're making into nursing, how do these investments help strengthen the future of nursing in this community?
Well, so Omega, it's very important. Now, I love all my doctors. I love all my doctors, right? But at the heart of what a hospital does is it provides nursing care. Think about it. Your doctor comes in, spends some time with you, writes orders, and then it's the clinical team that they partner with to actually deliver those orders, to be there for that patient. And nursing goes above and beyond just the clinical care. Nurses are there to help you heal, but they're also there to be there for you as a person. They're the shoulder you can cry on. They're the person you can divulge how you're really feeling. And so at the heart of hospital care and at the heart of healthcare is our nursing workforce. And the investments that we've made in our local schools, as I said before, first, it's because we have tremendous confidence. We know that when we go to Chancellor Allison at Fayetteville State and we talk to Daryl about growing that program, he will deliver. His programs will deliver. And those resources that we've provided, those investments, allow Daryl and his teams to grow their classes, to hire additional faculty, to start new programs. And so the onus is on us together to build that environment. And then the investment that a health system makes goes beyond just the check. It's more than just writing the check, because now we've got to create a clinical environment that those nurses can do their rotations. And that's really where you learn. You said it, you learned about journalism and media up at Central Carolina, right? Yeah. But where you really learned it is on the job, right? Doing it and your years of experience. A couple years, not too many years, but a couple years of experience have created what we have now. You're an incredibly experienced, well-versed media specialist and that happens in our industry too with nurses. So now the onus is on us in partnership with FSU and Fayetteville State and Bladen and Methodist to create those clinical environments so that what the faculty is teaching at the school, those students can deliver at the bedside.
Mike, you were talking about investments. Cape Fear Valley serves an 8-county region, very diverse community. How did the health system work to make health care more accessible to these 8 counties last year?
Yeah. Omega, first off, it's about being in those communities and understanding them. You can't sit in an ivory tower and just read a book and pretend that you know what's going on. You got to get out there and meet with folks. I'll give you some great examples. Last year, we opened up the very first full-service cancer center in Harnett County. Think about that for a second. Harnett County, in between Cumberland County and Wake County, a very diverse, growing population, and they had to travel great distances to get radiation therapy, to get chemotherapy, to get all of those services. The way you take care of people is best if it's done locally, right? If you have an illness that requires cancer care, you got enough going on. The last thing you need is to be traveling more than an hour to get care, right? And all the dynamics of doing that. So to have that care in your region is so very important. And that's why On the campus in Lillington at Central Harnett, that hospital, we built a 66,000 square foot medical office building, and we're very proud. The very first floor is our oncology. It's our cancer center. And we have a world-class cancer center here in Fayetteville, and we took that same approach and we took it to Harnett County, so that now if you have a need for medical oncology or radiation oncology, it's there in your community. But it doesn't end there. Also in Harnett County, we have a behavioral health for adolescents unit. So if you have a 13-year-old daughter and she is having a behavioral health issue and she needs to be hospitalized for that, until we built these units in our region, your young 13-year-old teenager might have to be cared for more than 2 hours away. Think about the stress that's on a family. First off, we would all take a bullet for our kids, right? And it pains you to realize they have an issue that can't be immediately resolved. Now, to add the stress of having to travel for hours to go get your youngster care just adds to the dynamic. So the fact that in Harnett County, within months, we will open the first behavioral health unit dedicated for adolescents is a very proud moment. But it doesn't just end in Harnett. I don't mean to just keep talking about Harnett County. Let's look at Bladen County. In Bladen County, do you know that they did not have their own dedicated MRI machine?
Really?
Yeah, did not. We had a service that would bring an MRI unit on a trailer down a couple times a week, and people could get their MRIs that way. Well, that to me isn't world-class care. So just last year, Spencer Cummings, who's the president in Bladen, who been there now for a number of years, approached us and said, Mike, it's time. We need our own dedicated MRI machine. So we built the building. We bought the building. We renovated the building, and we purchased the MRI unit, and we installed it. And every single day, dozens of people are now getting their MRIs in Bladen in a freestanding unit, instead of having to wait for a machine to be brought to them or to have to travel more than an hour to get a simple MRI image. So, Omega, those are very concrete ways that we continue to grow and expand services. A lot of times we focus on the equipment, but it's also about opening practices and getting more doctors in the region. And you open this by saying, how do you know what to do? It's about being there. You've got to be there for your community.
Cape Fear Valley CEO on Making Rounds Live. Mike, someone asked me this not too long ago. She said, why is it that Cape Fear Valley doesn't talk about the awards and recognitions that the health system receives? And I says, they do talk about it. I said, I interview Mike once a year and Mike talks about it. She says, well, I never hear anything about it. So Mike, this is your chance to answer the lady's question. Talk about the awards and recognition.
Yeah, well, so Omega, we're very proud of the care that we deliver. We deliver world-class care locally, and it's not just us saying it. It's nationally recognized organizations that are saying that as well. I think for like the 5th or 6th time, Hoke Hospital has received a Leapfrog A grade, right? A national award. Here locally, U.S. News and World Report has recognized Cape Fear Valley in a number of areas for the specialty care. Just last year, we were recognized by U.S. News and World Report as one of the most outstanding hospitals for equitable care and equitable access. We don't lead with the awards, right? But the awards are important because, I have often said, if you want to learn to play tennis, you can't get better playing your little sister. But then Serena came around, and so I couldn't use that anymore, right? But there's truth in that. If you are going to continue to elevate what you do, you need to compete at a national level, and you need to benchmark what it is you're doing against the very best. And to me, that's how you get better. And that's why those awards are important. The actual trophy is nice, right? You put it up on a mantle. But what that represents is what's most important. It represents that we're delivering the highest level of care, nationally recognized, right here locally, whether it be heart care or orthopedic care or oncology or, your family practice work. And whether we do that here at the medical center or at Highsmith Rainey or at Bladen, we want that care to be the same wherever it's delivered.
Mike, as we go into the final minutes of today's broadcast, let's look ahead into 2026. What are you most excited about for Cape Fear Valley Health in 2026?
Well, we got a number of things that we're doing to continue to grow and expand healthcare. Some sneak peeks. We've already talked about the medical school, right? We are going to welcome our very first class of first-year medical students this summer. It's actually happening. We have already tendered more than 50 acceptance letters to students for the medical school. Now we'll recruit more than that, and we have time. But that's such a milestone for us. But the other things that we're looking forward to is we are now planning for a major expansion of the cancer center here locally. We continue to see the number of patients that come to us for cancer care and cancer treatment continue to grow, right? And we don't want anybody to develop cancer, right?
Yeah.
But if you have to deal with that, we want you to get your care locally, right? And so what we're seeing is because of the number of people that are coming to us for cancer care, our facilities no longer match. Right? We're able to recruit the physicians. We're able to recruit the medical oncologists, the radiation oncologists, the nurses, all the technology. But the space is where we're lacking. So you'll see us this year begin planning on the development of a major expansion of our cancer program. The other thing that we're seeing is that we are going to have to expand the emergency department here in Fayetteville and our operating room environment. The number of people that have come to us for surgery. Last year, Cape Fear Valley performed more than 31,000 surgeries. More than 31,000 surgeries. And that's just going to continue to grow. Currently, we are a level 3 trauma program. We are pursuing level 2 and then ultimately level 1 status. That means the number of physicians that are coming to Fayetteville will continue to grow. And we need to grow and expand our operating room environment. We plan on adding 3 new operating rooms to that environment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's talk about new services. What will Cape Fear Valley Health be offering in 2026 as far as new services?
Yeah. So, one area that we really have struggled to attract and grow is in the area of dermatology. Right? My family members have really had to work to get appointments. And quite honestly, sometimes they've had to leave the area to get that kind of care. So we've been very fortunate to recruit dermatology to the area. So you should see in 2026 us be able to stand up new offices that'll focus on dermatology. The other areas that we've grown in is in our heart surgery. We have recruited 2 new cardiovascular heart surgeons to Fayetteville. One of them actually was a general surgeon through our own training program, went to receive his heart training, and then is coming back. Yeah, so we're really excited about that. We have growth in our vascular surgery, in our care for diabetic patients. We've got a number of areas of growth, Omega. And that's what it's all about. Our growth is not just to have another trophy or to be able to say more people choose us, but it's so that people can get care locally. That's what we're after.
Okay. You still need to get the word out about the awards and recognition.
We'll continue to work on that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Nagowski on Cape Fear Valley Health, Making Rounds Live. Mike, what's something that you wish the community better understood about the health system like Cape Fear Valley as far as the works behind the scenes? What would you like for people to know about that?
It's all about our teammates. They're the ones who are doing the hard work. I get to come up here and be behind a microphone and be interviewed by famous people like Omega Jones. But it's really the nurses, the pharmacists, the housekeeping staff that are doing that work. So please continue to support them, continue to be there for them. And the other thing I'd like to say on behalf of all of our clinicians, don't wait. If you think you're having an issue, please get yourself to where you can receive care. The last thing we want to do is have you wait and it be too late. So please get care as soon as you can.
As Cape Fear Valley moves into this new chapter and this next chapter, what would you like the employees of Cape Fear Valley, the students, and the people in community to hear?
Yeah, we're so very proud of our teammates. The work that we do, we're biased. We think we are in the noblest profession that there is. That's the God-given ability to take care of others. You know, nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, oh, I can't wait to have to go to the hospital. Nobody does that, right? So we know that nobody really wants to be in a hospital or have to get care. But if you need to do that, please come as soon as you can, and we're proud of the care that we deliver.
And finally, Mike, as we close out today's broadcast, when you step back from your day-to-day rat race, because that's exactly what it is, what motivates you to keep doing this type of work?
I think I've talked about it. What motivates me is that we're here for our community, right? This is a privilege. We're supposed to be the very best we can for our community so that they can get the care they need when they need it. That's what drives us. And that's not just what drives me, it's what drives our clinical teams.
And do you have anything, final message or anything that you want to leave for our listeners, maybe a takeaway or a message for our listeners before we officially close out?
Thank you for all your years of support for the health system. The fact that more and more of you choose us for care is very meaningful. It means that you believe in us and you believe in what we're doing for our community. So thank you.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mike Nagowski, Cape Fear Valley Health CEO. And in case you just joined in late or in case you came in or maybe on the tail end, we discussed the progress that's been made in 2025, the exciting plans for the upcoming new year. We talked about the investments in education with the local community colleges and the universities, talked about the medical school, of course, talked about the commitment to quality health care in the community. And if you want to see this, make sure you go to Cape Fear Valley's Facebook page or YouTube channel, and you will be able to see this broadcast in its entirety. Mike, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. It was great seeing you again.
I've enjoyed it, Omega. You invite me back anytime, I'll be here.
All right. Make sure we're going to stick you to that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our next broadcast is Tuesday, February 10th. Mark the date and make plans to join us. For our producers, Lindsey Graham and Ray Thomas, I am the hardworking team behind the scenes. I'm Omega Jones. Thanks for listening and watching Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live.
WIDU